Hello there, it's Arts and Culture time on France 24. Welcome to Encore. Today it's our weekly music show. We are meeting a modern day musical explorer. We'll be asking Vincent Moon about shooting with the likes of Phoenix and Arcade Fire. Ivorian reggae singer with a social conscience, TIKEN FAKOLY is heading back on the road and venturing into recently war-torn parts of West Africa. We'll be telling you why. And we're asking if self-styled princess of pop Lady Gaga is really planning to open a museum dedicated to the king of pop, Michael Jackson. Thanks very much for joining us here on the show. And hello as well to our guest, Vincent Moon.
Bonjour.
Very nice to have you with us. And hello to our music critic, Mark Thompson.
Happy to be here again.
Hi there. Let's start with some musical innovations from Vincent. He made his name shooting seemingly off-the-cuff acoustic sessions with artists including Arcade Fire, Tom Jones, many others, and young up-and-comers too. After a couple of falling outs with record labels, he turned to more in-depth filmmaking, concentrating on true passion projects, including filming Indigenous music across the world. Vincent, you've had an incredibly interesting few years. Can you first tell us about how you came to filmmaking and to the point that bands like REM requested that you work with them?
No, it went pretty fast. I guess it was like 10 years ago. I was a photographer and I started to get into really deeply into music. I was living in Paris, just going out every night actually to see a show, and then I became friends with mostly with one band at the time, which were not really famous. Was named The National, and little by little we started to plan projects, and I made a little music video for them, and then a guy that I didn't know at the time, Cried, had a website, a blogotech, and he wanted to start a little thing online. Mm-hmm. And he asked me, maybe we can do it together. He will produce and I will direct those little clips. And the idea from the very beginning was to do something very intimate with those bands, you know.
It's much more casual, isn't it? It's almost like they're doing a little show just for friends, kind of thing.
Yeah, just to really strip down to the bone this whole idea of what's a recording of music, you know. And I really wanted to record live music. Yeah. Because all the music videos through the 90s sort of like set up something very different, which very produced with lots of money, and I was really trying to make something without money almost involved, you know, and really trying to just to bring it back to the core, to the essence of what is it to play music.
That was sort of around the same time that lots of bands were getting onto MySpace and things and sort of regaining control of their music.
Yeah, exactly. Sort of, you know,
went along with that time.
Comment tu dis? No intermediaries, you know, just like straight, directly with the bands and in the streets often or in a home.
Well, let's show the viewers one of those really rather priceless moments that you have become known for. This is from the takeaway shows before they really properly took off. It's the French rock band Phoenix playing at the Eiffel Tower, no less.
Around 200 of these clips in about 4 years. That's a lot of work very quickly. What made you pull away from those? And when you were working with REM and Arcade Fire, and then you suddenly changed and decided to move away from the mainstream.
I didn't suddenly change. I was actually sort of like left Paris at the time. I explored this type maybe of music, and in terms of filming it, and I wanted to. My curiosity sort of like simply pushed me somewhere else, and I started to live with a backpack. I left Paris and I went to travel around the world.
That's a life a lot of people would envy, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this for 5 years sort of, and I just like ended up this sort of like 5-year cycles of traveling.
But the obvious thing is every young boy's dream is to have these bands play their own shows for you. We're in various places around like nice cities around the world, and you decide, you know what? I'm going to leave it. I'm going to go travelling around and find out something new. Yeah,
let's talk about your newer projects, in fact. We're going to show a little bit of a film that you filmed in Chechnya. Yeah, this is from a project called The Grand Jihad. Take a look at this. Okay, so there we go. This is from the Grand Jihad, and this is from your much more recent things to do with sort of much more ancient sort of music forms, indigenous music around the world. Now, the title really sticks out in people's minds, I think, Grand Jihad, the big jihad.
No,
what does that mean?
Oh, well, basically the meaning of jihad in the Quran, there's two different meanings actually, the little and the great jihad. And I wanted to use this name, the great jihad, because just to put a light on the real meaning of jihad, on that meaning of the jihad through the Quran, which is actually the fight against your inner self, the fight with your own ego. While the little jihad, which is the one we know nowadays, is sort of like the war against the others, you know, the non-converts and so on.
Course, yeah.
So that's why I wanted just to put like this little point on that. But then, my most recent work has been really digging into sacred music.
Is
also
it about
like this ancient way of like being with music.
Is it about finding music that you think is at risk of getting lost, or just because not that many people know about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not always getting lost. It's like a case-by-case situation in that. It's sort of like from one valley to another. You know, I spent a lot of time, for example, in the Caucasus, and with Sochi Games coming, it's very interesting
so
to
many
talk
countries
about
and so many different artists. It almost feels like it's an anthropological study. It's a study of...
Yeah, but it's very... sometimes it's a very poetical study in a sense, because I'm not at all I don't have any background into such studies, into anthropology and so on, and I just go there by myself, just really alone with my backpack, and I just meet people in every places like
But
that. I ask them
how
to
do you
help.
pay for this is the obvious
Yeah.
question.
I just live with very little amount of money. Just I have my camera and my computer, and I just go and
So
people
I
offer me
noticed that
places
you
to
ask
stay.
for donations on your website.
Yeah.
And
All my work is on donations on my website. All my work is for free on internet, and I don't really show it in film festivals or
And-
anything. I don't show it on TV.
and you're trying to
Very
get
nice to be here
crowdfunding for an album of the music that you recorded whilst you're in Russia. Is that right?
Yeah. I was in Russia and I was recording mostly. I was making a project mostly on ethnic minorities in Russia. And I think for me, of course, it's not that always those music are all getting lost. It's just that I think it's very important to talk about them. And
It's certainly something that we don't talk about very often
No,
at
of
all.
course.
Well, thanks so
Not
much for
enough.
coming in to tell
My
us about all of
pleasure.
your
Thanks
projects.
for
It's
that,
been
yeah.
so interesting to meet you. We are actually going to move on to something that a lot more people probably know about, Lady Gaga. Very different from your projects, I think. And another new enterprise, in fact. Now, Mark, this is a really perfect pop story.
Yeah.
Lady Gaga supposedly is going to open a Michael Jackson museum.
Yeah, it's a headline writer's dream, isn't it? The pop princess opening up a museum full of memorabilia to the former pop king.
Can it be true?
Now-
It seems a bit unusual.
It's potentially true. I mean, she has hundreds of Michael Jackson memorabilia. She has up to $1.25 million worth of memorabilia, in fact, including the famous Swarovski crystal glove, which is valued about 140,000 euros.
Oh, a lot of people would like to see
So
that.
you'd imagine that there will be interest, but I think the problem she's going to have is with Michael Jackson's estate and his lawyers and whether they're going to be okay with it.
I'm sure there would be. So is that something that you'd go along to have a look at?
No.
Michael Jackson
Not your
Museum
thing.
run by Lady
No,
Gaga.
sorry, no, I won't.
I think I'd go just out of sheer curiosity. Well, we're going to bring some news from the world of world music now. TIKEN FAKOLY is known as the star reggae musician with a social conscience. He has a huge following in West Africa as well as here in France, and he's embarking on a tour this week. Mark, it's taking in some locations that could prove quite challenging in different ways.
Yes, of course. I mean, he is a legendary Ivory Coast reggae singer. He is so big in that part of the world. And this African Revolutions tour is actually going to be in partnership with France 24 and RFI. And he's going to be traveling through Senegal, Guinea, Mali, and the Ivory Coast, his hometown. Now, the problem is really with Senegal, where he was actually considered a person non grata by the former president Abdoulaye Wade back in 2007.
He's actually banned
He was
from entering the
banned from
country.
entering the country
Yeah.
at all, and that was because he called for the president to step down for the good of the country. So obviously he's not got the best relationship there, but he's looking to basically push ahead, and he wants to reconnect with the young Africans. And basically the message he is sending, and he told France 24, is that he wants young Africans to stop thinking about Europe and a big dream in Europe and to make their dreams in Africa.
The message we're going to put across here is about migration, moving from rural areas to urban areas. It's also about agriculture. We're also going to talk about reconciliations because we're in Ivory Coast and we've just come out of a crisis. It's time we talk about that with the young generation. They all want to go to Europe despite the fact there is nothing left there, when everything is yet to be built in Africa and nothing will be done without us.
Vincent, you're a very widely travelled man, as we've just said. What do you think about that idea of African artists really taking back control of their own music?
Oh, I think it's very important. I think and TIKEN has been there forever, in my opinion, and he really is one of those like really great African musicians, leader, which goes way beyond music, I think, and I think it's very important. Yeah.
Well, he's going to be travelling around those 4 countries that we mentioned, including Mali, which was recently war-torn. So we do wish TIKEN FAKOLY luck with his tour there. That does just about bring us to the end of the show. Vincent and Mark, thanks very much for being with us. So just before we go, we have just had the Golden Globes Awards over in Los Angeles, and the Best Original Song Award went to U2 for their song Ordinary Love, which they wrote for the Mandela film. The only award that film won at the Golden Globes, in fact. Mark, to be honest, I saw this film and I don't particularly remember the song. Why do you think it won?
I think it won mainly because obviously everyone is remembering Mandela this year and last year after his death, and it's a really poignant moment. And the song is a very U2 song. I mean, you hear it and there's no complications. You know who it is. And it's a very and so they do have an album coming out this year. The song is probably going to be on it, and we're expecting more of the same.
A little booster for you two there from the Golden Globes. Thanks for that, Mark. So we will leave you with a little look at the video from that song from U2. Do enjoy. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.